am so happy to be able to speak here during our annual Adventures in Faith series. It's a 5-week series. Today's week 3, and I've always loved this series. It's a great time of year to come back together and have an adventure in faith, a deeper walk in faith. And I love how the team that has created this has also called it an adventure in faiths this year, which is part of why we're getting to have an interfaith experience in the service each week. Deepening, profound, powerful. I'm so grateful for that. And the series is beautiful and called Spirituality from the Ground Up. I think they probably had the slide there. And Reverend Josh's talks have been amazing. It's just been a great couple of weeks. Today, I get to talk about your tree of life. And I would definitely encourage anyone who'd like to go deeper with this material to download the materials from our website. We do have small groups going on who are using the materials, but they're available to anyone, and they're chock full of inspiration, quotes, beautiful images. Indeed, this week has a whole bunch of definitions of the tree of life from different spiritual perspectives and different ways of seeing the tree of life. And I read all of them and loved them all. So it's a great journey for us individually as well as if you're in one of the groups. So please consider doing that. You'll find it easily on our website. When I think of the tree of life, not only did I enjoy all that I read, I kept anchoring into an image for myself from when I was a child. I believe, looking back at our genealogy, I'm about a 5th generation Coloradan. I'm very proud of that. And yeah, all of us Coloradans are pretty proud. And my mother's side of the family my grandparents had a cabin up in Garfield, Colorado. It was right at the base of the Monarch Pass. You could see Monarch Pass right above us. And we went there when I was young quite frequently. I lived in Salida, Colorado for the first 6 years of my life, and almost every weekend in the summer we went there. In the wintertime we couldn't get in, the snow was so deep, but we would go there frequently. And even when I moved away, came to Denver with my family, we would go back there often for weekends. And it was beautiful country. The river ran in front of our cabin, and nature was so beautiful. And I would sneak off frequently away from the family and venture down the road a piece to where there was this big grove of aspen trees. And I would just go and lie down on the ground. It was very tall grass, and just stare up the aspens for hours. One of my favorite things to do would be to listen for the wind coming and then watch as I could hear it coming from far away, and suddenly it would whisk through the trees over me and the leaves would blow and I could feel the cool ground against my back. No matter how hot it got up there in that area underneath the trees, the ground was just nice and cool, and it represented an escape for me. It represented feeling in tune with nature and my own natural energy, and it just represented beauty for me. It began my lifelong love of trees also, so I'm very happy to be talking about your tree of life. I do admit I'm a child of the 60s, so I'm a hippie tree-hugging girl. I got a picture here to prove it. There's me. Almost any tree, if I can hug it, I'm going to hug that tree. And so I love hugging trees. And I also admit to being, a friend of mine calls me a woo-woo wackadoo. I talk to trees. Anyone else talk to trees? Yeah, okay, a lot of us talk to trees. The trees talk back. The trees talk back. I hear what the trees say. I like that. In fact, the trees told me a riddle once. They said, what did the trees wear to the swimming pool? Swimming trunks. I know. Yeah, that was a groaner, wasn't it? But it made me giggle. It's a good one. So I think that trees are very powerful, and indeed, this whole series, Spirituality from the Ground Up, the opportunity to talk all that we're talking about even today with the Tree of Life, it reminds me of the first thing that I just want to touch into, and that is that it serves us to return to nature, to remind ourselves. I hear the voice of my parents and my grandparents growing up. Just go outside and play, will you? Just go outside. An encouragement to just go outside, get outside. And I would go outside and go play jailbreak with my friends. And I was a really good hider, and I would just hide for hours, just hiding in nature, and loved being outside. And I think what returning to nature does for us is that the nature we're returning to is Mother Nature, the energy of the earth, the beauty of the trees and the flowers and the grass and the bushes and all of that. It returns us to a rhythm, a natural rhythm of beingness that it behooves every human being to experience. To be in nature is to return ourselves to our nature. And the reason this is becoming even more important, I think, is that today's world, as much as I love technology and all that it can do for us, it is uprooting our sense of nature. It's keeping us disconnected from the natural rhythms of nature that are moving through everything and moving through us. It allows us to be stuck in something else, to be on our computers for too long, buried in our phones, and not noticing the trees and the flowers and smelling the roses and allowing ourselves to feel an attunement into our very nature. It's important for us to do that because things are shifting in nature, and pockets of nature get challenged so often. I love American writer Bill Vaughan says, suburbia is where the developer bulldozes out the trees, then names the streets after them, right? And so it behooves us to pay close attention. I know that this summer I've been away a little bit. I've been guest speaking at some of our centers, mostly in Colorado, and just driving to them and being in those centers and being in the places they are and going to the Colorado Monument. Living in Colorado most of my life, I'd never been to the Colorado Monument. Beautiful. We went to my hometown of Salida and got an Airbnb where we get up every morning at 5 a.m. to do our practice and do our reading, and we watch the sunrise outside the window of our master bedroom on the collegiate peaks every morning and just enjoyed. And an antelope would come into the yard every morning. We named him Gary, and Gary would show up and do his thing and then wander off, and we would sit on that front porch just staring at the mountains and looking at the beauty of nature. So I feel like this summer has given me a re-anchoring. I'm not a big camper, I will admit. That I've done it, I can do it. It's not my favorite thing to sleep in nature. I'm kind of like Fran Lebowitz says, I'm not the type who wants to go back to the land, I'm the type who wants to go back to the hotel. But I do feel the power and the energy of it, and I feel a centeredness in my being after this summer I haven't felt for a long time. Returning to nature, finding ways to do that, my first point for the day. And with that, then, we get to discover and enter into the tree of life. Josh quoted last week from a book that Ernest Holmes wrote called This Thing Called You. My favorite Ernest Holmes book. Anybody else in the room? Yeah, a number of us. That's our favorite book. And Ernest says, guard well this garden of your mind. It is God's garden of your soul. Go often into your garden, sitting under the tree of life in cool, quiet communion. You will find fresh inspiration. So this reading to me is about return to nature and sit under the tree of life. Be aware of the tree of life. There's a lot of tree of life symbols in the store today, and the store manager put this one on me, thank goodness. The tree of life that anchors us and allows us to use the awareness of nature itself, but also the metaphor of the tree of life as we venture on our journey of living. And so the first point that I have about the tree of life reminds me and us that the deeper the roots, the higher the branches. The deeper the roots, the higher the branches. One of the challenges that humanity has always faced and will always face is the propensity to only deepen the roots of our being so far into our essential nature. Surface rootedness, in other words. And when we're rooted at the surface, we're very overly concerned with things of the world of form. We're concerned with how it looks. We're concerned with what we can get. We're concerned with what we can see and what we can show and what we can point to and what we think we can only know at the surface level. And we will never feel true satisfaction and rootedness with that kind of root system. Just like a tree itself that only roots at the surface level, seeking to get its nourishment from the topsoil, it's easily toppled over, isn't it? A strong wind comes and knocks it right over, or causes it at least to lean. It can be traumatic for the tree if it doesn't root deeply. And you and I are the same. See, the truth is, no matter how spiritual we get, no matter how godly we become, there will always be winds of change blowing through our lives. There will always be winds that come along. And if we're only rooted at the surface level, then it's harder to recover. It's easier to fall over. It's easier for everything to be destroyed in our life because we've only rooted at the surface level. Instead, what this topic invites us to do is to consider being like a tree and rooting deeply. Imagining and doing that which allows us to more deeply root ourselves in the rich soil of creation, the universal soil of creation, so that we are strong. The first level that I think we go to when we begin to root more deeply is the level of humanity and the level of living and life itself. What happens when we're rooted at the surface is that sometimes we can be challenged to even enjoy our life. Life just seems like an ongoing challenge after challenge after challenge and issue after issue. But when we're rooted in that deeper level of being a human being, what begins to shift almost immediately is we find a joy in livingness. We find a part of us that says, I accept that I'm alive. And that may sound very basic, but I think for many of us, we can sense our divine nature, and this human experience can be so challenged. Sometimes parts of us just want to go, okay, I'm so done being a human today. I don't want to do this human thing anymore. But what we can find in this human experience is the part of us that essentially at some level or another agreed to be here. I've heard spiritual teachers say, if you want to know if your work here on earth or in this life is over yet, if you're still here, it's not. And so we can root into that sense of being human and being here, and it makes us stronger in life. And when we're stronger in life, we can face immediately the winds of change and the winds of challenge. It may be hard. Those winds may blow leaves off or branches may get damaged, but we're rooted. and we can withstand it. I love in some of the esoteric practices, some of the practices of martial arts, the notion of rooting oneself into the earth. We used to have a gentleman come here who taught Aikido, and he would show us something that I've demonstrated in classes with students. I've done this with the teens here. Have someone come up and just say, okay, just stand here and be here, and kind of push them, and they're easily toppled. They're easily off balanced. And then I will say to them, root yourself. Imagine the earth and your energy grounded into the earth. And then touch them and push them, and they can't be pushed over. Practices in yoga, the tree pose, the ability to stand and root oneself to the earth with one foot and do the tree pose. And be balancing oneself with your feet. When I was an ice skater, I used to skate on one foot, often for hours, just using my other foot to move myself along, using the toe pick or using the blade, but being on just one foot for hours at a time, and just being in that space while moving on that little thin blade, and just feeling that centeredness of one-leggedness. Because I had to root myself below the surface into the earth. Something in me knew this, and something in us knows this. We have to do that deep rootedness of being here on this earth, in this life, fully alive, living full out. And then the deeper level of that is our rootedness in the divine. Rooted in God, in Source itself, in that creative soil. When I imagine those roots going deep into spirit, I live a more stable life. And that stability is all about the energy that moves forward and up and in me as I face anything that shows up in my life, be it the thing that is good or bad or indifferent from the human standpoint. There is this willingness to then move forward from that rootedness as the tree of life. And if we don't do that, when we're living at the surface, we're tempted to go to war, aren't we, with facts and opinions and realities and things that come into our lives, which is not a powerful stand. I'm suggesting even to us today that part of what we're facing collectively, part of why there are wars in Israel and Palestine, part of why there's this war in Ukraine, part of why racism continues to be a challenge, part of why there's road rage and angry people is that humans are not rooting themselves in the deeper truth. When we root ourselves in humanity and human life and in God, there's this anchoredness that happens. This is part of why we chose spiritual practice as our initiative this year for 2023, to invite us all to root more deeply into the truth, the wise part of us that can meet challenges. I'm happy to say that I married a man who also is a tree hugger and talks to trees. And so recently, he was telling me he was doing some repair work in our front yard with the sprinkler system. And he noticed we have 2 big trees there, and he noticed that one of the trees rooted itself through the pipe in the sprinkler system to get some water. Here's how Ken handled that. And I give him credit because he could have handled it a number of ways, couldn't he? He could have gone to war with the tree. And he could have cut out its roots, and he could have dug and cut its roots and cut its branches, or even cut the tree down so that it wouldn't hurt our sprinkler system. But instead, my sweet husband sat on our front deck and he had a conversation with the trees. First of all, he got their names. One of them is named Groot, which makes a lot of sense, and the other one is Treebeard. And he asked them, he welcomed them to our yard, and he welcomed them to the water, and he asked one of them if it would please send its roots away from the house. And the other one, he said, you can have all the water, but you cannot come through the pipes of our sprinkler system. But we will make sure you always have enough water, and I am going to have to remove that root so I can replace our pipe, and I will trim your branches, and I am here to care for you. And that touched me so deeply as a metaphor for when we are rooted deeply and we are challenged, how we can show up. And it's so important for us to do that right now, for ourselves and for our fellow human beings. I love also the notion that we hear a lot about aspen trees. Have you heard about this new idea that's just been recently discovered about the connections of beautiful aspen trees? We have some pictures of one here, a picture. I found a Forest Service blog that reminded us one aspen tree is actually only a small part of a larger organism. A stand or group of aspen trees is considered a singular organism with the main life force underground in the extensive root system. In a single stand, each tree is a genetic replica of the other, hence the name a clone of aspens is used to describe a stand of trees. To me, that's just the notion of a stand of trees is a new definition of what it means to take a stand. What does it mean to take a stand as a human being on this planet? To me, I think it means I root deeply. Because I recognize that like the aspen tree, we all share one source. We are all rooted by the same presence, like a clone of aspen trees. We share the same genetic makeup of each other. We are connected. And so whenever one of us deeply roots ourselves in the rich soil of creation and takes a stand for peace, chooses not to go to war with ourselves or with another person, which might mean negative thoughts and frustrated thoughts, chooses to do that work to smooth out that energy, we then contribute to the entire grove of humanity in a profound way. The deeper the roots, the higher the branches. It then means that not only do we deeply root, but when we deeply root, we allow that energy to come forth into the branches of our life, and our tree of life is uniquely ours. I notice as I drive past a whole bunch of trees and I look at them, every one of them is lovely and interesting. Even like I know it's early, but a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Remember when Charlie Brown decorated that kind of sparse tree and made it so beautiful? None of us look at trees and shame them for how they look, right? None of us look at our trees in our yard and shame them for if they're missing a branch or maybe they got a little gray. I got a little gray thing right here. I'm just letting it grow. I figure I've earned it. That we allow our trees to be expressed just as they are. What if we allowed ourselves and others? We saw each other as beautiful trees in the grove of humanity. What if someone's tree is different than ours? The branch is different, or it's shaped a little different, or it behaves a little differently. We welcome it. We love it because it's part of nature. It's part of life. And the seasons of life will come and go for trees and for humans. And sometimes those seasons will remove all your leaves. They will blow away. But when we are deeply rooted, we know that they'll grow back. We know and we trust the season of living for ourselves and for our trees. And then as we allow our branches to grow high into the sky, into the light, into the truth of who we are, we become the tree of life. Someone who's become the tree of life, in my mind, is someone in whose presence we recognize the rootedness and the beauty. The beauty of their unique self, the beauty of them being who they are, the beauty of them speaking their truth and living their life, the beauty of them rooted in God, in their source, and yet fully expressed as themselves. And when more humans are like that, we can sit before them, and it's like we're in that grove of trees, just like me, amongst the aspen trees when I was a child. We can be that for each other. We can be that stand of trees for one another if we are willing to do this work of rootedness. I'd like to close with a poem today called Breathe by Becky Hemsley that is about life and about trees. She sat at the back and they said she was shy. She led with the front and they hated her pride. They asked her advice and then questioned her guidance. They branded her loud, then were shocked by her silence. When she shared no ambition, they said it was sad. So she told them her dreams, and they said she was mad. They told her they'd listen, then covered their ears, and gave her a hug while they laughed at her fears. And she listened to all of it, thinking she should be the girl they told her to be, best as she could. But one day she asked what was best for herself, instead of trying to please everyone else. So she walked to the forest and stood with the trees. She heard the wind whisper and dance with the leaves. She spoke to the willow, the elm, and the pine. And she told them what she'd been told time after time. She told them she felt she was never enough. She was either too little or far, far too much. Too loud or too quiet. Too fierce or too weak. Too wise or too foolish. Too bold or too meek. Then she found a small clearing surrounded by firs. And she stopped. And she heard what the trees said to her. And she sat there for hours, not wanting to leave, for the forest said nothing. It just let her breathe. We are the tree of life for ourselves and unto each other. Let us breathe now. And I invite our practitioner prayer partners and ministers to stand with me. Together we are a stand of trees rooted deeply in that infinite light and love, accepting, affirming, proclaiming God as our source. The deep roots of life firmly planted in this awareness and experience of the infinite, always, always available to source, to nourish, to guide, to lead. And so we root ourselves powerfully and joyfully right here, right now, as we come together in this prayerful energy, accepting and affirming these truths, and seeing each being right here, right now, as an expression of the beautiful tree of life that they are, affirming that each being within the sound of our voice is an expression of this tree rooted deeply, and today inspired to move forth in life more deeply rooted than ever before, joyfully accepting this truth, living this truth, and knowing that with this deep rootedness comes this expression of beauty through the branches of living, the various areas of life that we choose to express ourselves, beautiful, powerful, magnificent. I accept and affirm this for each one of us. I celebrate the way in which we are the tree of life for each other and for our community and for our fellow human beings. I celebrate and give thanks for this true connection that is the source of our living. And joyfully, I release this word now, letting it be, letting it go. It is done, and so it is. Amen.